So I'm now sitting here with Rory, who's another long-standing volunteer here with Grooveschool, and very much about your experience, your background, how and why you got here, and what you've been doing since you arrived. But I'm really interested to talk first of all about just your general kind of background in and experience of music.
Oh yeah, no, thank you for having me. So I've been promoting events, I think, for about 10 years now. I think, is it 10 years? Yeah, God, since maybe 8. I think since 2016 I've been throwing events.
Right.
So started off for a laugh of it, and I made music for fun. But as events got better, started taking it more seriously. Slowly I've been started my own little label, done bigger and bigger events, done nice things, and I mainly run a crew called Donkline, but it used to be called Save Yourself, and I've been a solo artist and released on things. And in the meantime, I've been a support worker by trade.
Right.
Initially just out of respect for carers, and rather work and care than hospitality or anything.
Yeah.
But it's become quite a passion, both things.
Excellent. So in a way, you've got a double whammy here. But before we get to that,
Yeah.
what was that promotion based in London, or was it
Oh, right. So it's based in Brighton.
in Brighton?
So I moved to Brighton for university, and it all started from... There's a local club in Brighton called Volks Nightclub.
I know it.
It's a good place. It's a good little dungeon. They had an advertisement saying if you did a fundraiser, you could get the place for free on a Wednesday. And I was like, oh, that's nice. And the second year in uni, I sort of booked it in for a year ahead. Well, no, I think it was actually almost as soon as I arrived. So in second year, I had the date booked in, and I just spent that entire summer and that entire year chatting to every musician I knew, being like, oh yeah, you can have a set, yeah, you can have a set, yeah, go on, let's make this happen. Even telling people who weren't DJs, yeah, you've got a set, you've got to figure it out though, figure out how to DJ by then. And I'd be calling them up, being like, have you done your homework?
Oh, right.
And, sorry, I dropped the water bottle. It was a massive success. It was really, really, really cool. It was way better than I expected it ever would have been, to be honest. And there were loads of artists who played on that event who later on went on to do really successful things. So it was because when I was Peephole, it's oh wow, what have we tapped into?
Oh, wow.
Back then, I think it was a massive focus on grime, and some of the people who were on the lineup were Elf Kid and Blakey, who were part of the Square, associated with Novelist, and we worked with Afronaut Zulu, who's done stuff with Dizzy Rascal now, and Octavian, who's worked with Sony since. And it was really, really, really cool. And it just got me a taste for everything. I want to do this more.
Right.
I think it was fully a time and place and energy at that time, though, because I feel I had varying success for a couple of years afterwards.
Yeah.
And tried to find my place, and definitely put on some really shocking shows.
Really?
Yeah.
It's so random, though, isn't it? A lot depends on the chemistry between the different DJs and...
Just what group of friends you have at the time and who you're advertising towards and what you're advertising to who. And that's all things I've learned, what elements of that were just time and place and what were me actually making a product for a specific group of people and them loving it. And I think as well at the time I was studying product design, and I learned a lot about branding and advertisement and how to go about it. And I learned what some of my mistakes were at the time, and I slowly developed a product for a specific group of people, and that was what my label Donkline is.
Yeah.
Which is hasn't seen any shockers yet, thank God. I don't think so anyway. We've been doing that for the last 3 years, and it started off as a really good sellout night at Volks again.
Yeah.
But since then we've done a few festival takeovers. We just did a Boomtown takeover 2 weeks ago.
All right.
And that was fun.
I think my son was there, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll have to ask him about that.
Oh, no, we played 2 years ago to the public, but this time it was a secret after party backstage.
Okay.
So very technically we played after Pendulum. I'm going to say that we're going to say we followed Pendulum.
Well, you can.
Yeah, we did, but...
Excellent. So, in terms of the label and the gig nights, what kind of music are you putting out?
So the label's Donk. It's a really, really stupid genre of music that's intentionally silly. So like it came out as a response to music in my head being way too serious in 2019ish.
Yeah.
Like I remember I was just trying to advertise a night and put funny pictures on it, and people wouldn't come. But if you draw like a black dove on a white background and everyone's name's like super serious, people come, and I'm like, oh, it's a party. This is wrong.
Yeah.
So
That's the branding again, isn't it? And the marketing. It's give people something to grab onto.
yeah. So with I went to a few donk parties, and it was this very niche genre, but a very dedicated fan base. And I noticed there wasn't dedicated parties towards it. I was like, oh wow, there's a huge group of people really loving this one particular sound, and no one providing parties for it. So I was like, I want to give that a go.
Right.
And everyone's name's just absolutely ridiculous. So like half the advertising is just the silliest names you could possibly book. Like some of the big people I've seen, like DJ Bus Replacement Service, and a good friend of mine is DJ 7 Rail.
Right. God, they're everywhere. So, I mean, you had that background, and presumably you came up to London.
Yeah, so
2019 was it?
I think it was. I moved back to London like beginning of this year, end of last year, so like end of 2023. Essentially, I'd been working as a support worker, and I'd done very well at it, but I was working in 16 to 18-year-old semi-independent housing, and I was finding my way in it, but it's really, really tough work doing that, and I was questioning whether I really wanted to continue in the field at all. And there's small dreams to become a therapist and other things later on in life, but if the way to go about it was to continue working in that sort of housing, I wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
But someone made the point to me of why don't I specialise? Why don't I look for institutions that exist inside London that help me use a skill set I've built up in music and branding and production and combine it with the support work? And I was like, oh yeah, grand, that's a great idea. So I looked into it, and I think there's like 3 similar companies, and just cold emailed, and I think I just had the warmest, best reception from Richie here.
Yeah.
And we went back and forth for a while, and I think he was kind of impressed with the fact that they weren't even hiring. I just was like looking really hard. And when they were looking for new volunteers, Richie got in contact with me, and I showed up, and I was up for it, and got involved.
Excellent. And the rest is history.
Isn't it? It's
Yeah.
6-month-old history at this stage.
And from where I'm sitting now, it sounds like this coming together of a passion you've got, which is music, and a vocation you've got, which is working with, particular
People
challenging groups.
It's a variety of different types of groups. It's hard to pigeonhole exactly what specific group I'm there to help, but
Yeah.
young people, I guess.
And do you find that because you feel particularly strongly about what it is you're helping them go through, that makes that job a bit easier or a bit more motivating?
I think help and therapy comes in 1,000 varieties, and if I'm able to use music as a specialty, then that's helpful. But I think it could have been anything really. Like I remember discovering what play therapy was on a particular session as a support worker. Like I think a kid I was working with wanted to play Minecraft with me,
Right.
and I played Minecraft with him for a few hours, and in the process of playing the game I explained really simple life lessons and just like expressed an attitude of sharing and non-territorialness, I guess.
Yeah.
And I walked out of it like, man, I did a great job today. I don't know how through that game I was able to communicate so many things to them in a way that would have felt really unnatural in any other instance. And someone more established than me explained, oh, that's called play therapy.
Oh, right.
And I was like, oh, fascinating.
And it's taking something that people have got a real affinity to and using that as your way into
have a more sensible conversation with them and just like communicate really clear things that would seem slightly too obvious or annoying if you were to say them in like a normal everyday situation.
Yeah.
But like but whether it's that or just engaging in a game with someone who's just looking to engage in a game with someone, like it's just a really simple form of approval between like 2 human beings.
Yeah.
Whether it's a video game or music or whatever.
Yeah, I think my guess is the difference is in terms of playing video games, whichever group you're talking about will have access to that pretty much straight off like anyone else. But access to music and the technology and the learning and then putting it all together right the way through to playing it, that really requires an outside
This is really true, and I think being allowed into the world of music by someone is a massive sign of approval. And I remember when like people allowed me into music. Like I remember being allowed onto like radio for the first time. It sort of feels like you're at the table of the big kids, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And because I think there is a massive barrier of entry in terms of music production and DJing, like not just from the equipment and the literal expensiveness of it all, but also just the information and where to find it and stuff. It's very, very overwhelming. So yeah, I guess so. Like people will always find their escape in video games, and they'll always find a clan to chill with in terms of that. But finding a space to enable that same initiation and welcomeness, but through something that can be as unwelcome as music, is great.
Yeah. And do you find that when you get groups coming through Grooveschool and going through the Grooveschool experience, do you find that they come with that passion for music already baked in, or is that kind of part of your role to release that?
I'd say it's probably more my role to release that. I think I found working the label and like getting someone I view as extremely talented and worthwhile to be in the industry. That's more like they've got passion. You just got like give it to them. But with Grooveschool, it's like a blind curiosity, and there's a little bit like a fear involved in it, you know? And you just got to make it seem welcoming and simple, and just colourful buttons you press in it.
Yeah.
And more times it's just finding the specific buttons they want to press in the studio. And it's quite cute seeing a group of people come in initially and look over everything and then climatize to one specific thing.
Yeah.
And then another time seeing everyone just immediately zap to the machine they want to be on, and finding this moment of like creative release they can have, whether that be through like voice modulation or DJing or just pressing the buttons on a keyboard or just using the podcast setup like we are right now.
Right. And you literally provide all those different experiences as part of the package.
All at once. And I don't think anyone leaves a room not enjoying themselves, really.
Yeah.
Like someone will find something to enjoy, whether it's, and if you don't gravitate to anything, there's still just so many shiny buttons. Everyone has a nice time.
You can't beat a shiny button and twiddly knobs, I don't think.
I really don't think so. I think there's nothing better in the world than a beep boop.
Yeah. But also I think, you know, and one thing I've seen here at Grooveschool is they get something back almost immediately. I mean, you know, I'm going to show my age now. I'm old enough to remember the early days of punk rock. And it literally tore the music industry apart, because up until then, you had to be in a proper band and you had to do, you know, progressive jazz chords and all the rest of it. And I went to see the Sex Pistols, and I think it was their second gig outside of London ever. And one of the support bands was the Buzzcocks. And I'm sitting there thinking, I could do that. But I never knew I could do that, because I didn't have an amp at home, an electric guitar and all the rest of it. But suddenly that opening up of, well, I can do that. It's a really powerful thing to tap into, isn't it?
It really, really, really is. I think I've seen people's confidence shoot up outside of Grooveschool as performers and producers and musicians, just from feeling able to do anything, and just the ability to make music is such a simple one. Like, but inside Grooveschool, seeing people who are like non-verbal initially, like absolutely like unable to engage how they wish they could, and then just a few sessions later just like world's difference, and it's just from the engagement in the shiny buttons. But also I think that sense of empowerment that you can do this, and probably before you never thought you could. That was for proper musicians or proper producers or whatever it is. No, like literally I think it's I remember chatting to one of the girls coming to Grooveschool thinking like, oh, like I love Mariah Carey but never me, like it'd never be me. And I was like, no, the whole point of this place is that it could be anyone, it can be you, and it's fine. Like if you enjoy the machines, like make the things and it happens. And like the realization that like it's as simple as that, like press the buttons, use the machines, make it happen. And that translates to outside of it as well. Like it's very, very, very empowering. Yeah.
And it's sort of almost democratizing. It's like it's open to anybody if they've got the motivation to do it. So in terms of the different groups you've worked with, does it require different almost techniques to get that out of them.
Yeah, it's hard to pigeonhole that, but like, people are difficult in different ways and require ways, and not so difficult in different ways as well, and require help opening up in different ways. And I feel like it's sometimes a bit awkward and difficult, but like, it's just a case of learning different people's tics and like how they want to be approached. And we're not all so different, so there's only like a certain amount of difficulties you can encounter, and after a bit you can more confidently be like, oh, I think you've got this insecurity or issue that's similar to someone else I've encountered, and they enjoyed this, which is comparable to that, and oftentimes it's just a case of that.
Right. Yeah. And so the benefits are presumably that you get a group of people that come out of the experience with more confidence or more sense of agency, or...
That's always the intention, yeah. That's what I've seen happen so far, yeah. People come through and they leave like silently more confident and definitely a lot more happy, which is like wonderful. And something to show for it, like just a silly song or like a podcast, or like a noise they had made, which is great, which everyone wants to show off.
I was going to finish off with that, because that's another part of this, which is that you get something back and you can play it to your friends or your family or whatever. And of course, the other side of it is the live music presentation. You get to do that with an audience.
Live music presentation? How do you mean?
Like DJing or the different events that...
Yeah. I mean, it's a very performative skill, and it's so nice to encourage people to be performative. I think it's like a base root thing, isn't it? I feel like me personally, I've come back full circle, like as a little kid making up terrible songs and make people listen to them, and then you become like an adult and more shy and think that's not for me. And then I just got the confidence to make terrible noises and make people listen to them.
Yeah.
And I see that in everyone who comes through here as well. Like, just that confidence to be loud and make a noise and perform and DJ and show off and, like, feel like that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Because it is.
Yeah. And do you feel like it's sort of, they can transfer those benefits into their day-to-day lives?
1,000%. Yeah, 1,000%. It's the, a little bit less shame, a little bit more confidence, a little bit more exhibition, which, like, just life in England makes you feel like you shouldn't be doing, but you should be.
And it sort of strikes me that we started off talking about you and your background and how you got into the things you got into, and then how you're kind of almost bringing that into this experience and providing other people with the same opportunities.
Oh yeah, no, it's like, it's really not unique to what's going on Grooveschool. Ultimately, it is just about, music's about exhibition and confidence and socialising and just a reason to bring people together. And so there's no reason to exclude anyone from that conversation. It's something like everyone would benefit from.
Excellent. I don't think I can top that, so I'll finish. Thanks.
Appreciate that. Lovely time.